Lawmaking. The purposive approach to statutory interpretation. The purposive approach to statutory interpretation is used in the European Court of Justice. The literal rule would be of little use in the European Court since there are several languages in operation and translation is not an exact science. Judges in the UK were required to apply the purposive approach whenever applying a piece of EU law. Lord Simon explained the purposive approach in Maunsell v. Ollens 1975. The first task of a court of construction is to put itself in the shoes of the draftsman, to consider what knowledge he had and, importantly, what statutory objective he had. Being thus placed, the court proceeds to ascertain the meaning of the statutory language. Thus, the purposive approach seeks to look for the purpose of the legislation before interpreting the words. This contrasts with the traditional approach where the courts apply the literal rule first, examining the wording of the Act, before considering the purpose or intention of Parliament under the mischief rule. It is therefore a much more flexible approach, giving judges greater scope to develop the law in line with what they perceive to be Parliament's intention. The purposive approach more readily embraces the use of extrinsic aids to assist in finding Parliament's intention. For example, in relaxing the rule on reference to Hansard in Pepper v. Hart, the House of Lords advanced a greater use of the purposive approach. Whilst judges were required to apply the purposive approach when considering EU law, this developed and influenced the approach of the judiciary in considering domestic legislation. In Pixton v. Freemans, the purposive approach was applied to domestic legislation to give an interpretation in line with EU law on equal pay. Miss Pixton was employed as a warehouse operative and was paid the same as male warehouse operatives. The work of the warehouse operatives was of equal value to that done by male warehouse checkers who were paid more than she was. The House of Lords decided that the literal rule would have left the United Kingdom in breach of its treaty obligations to give effect to an EU directive. It therefore used the purposive approach and stated that she was entitled to equal pay. The purposive approach has been highly influential on the judiciary in the domestic courts, and judges have applied it when interpreting domestic legislation which has no connection with EU law. It was used in Pepper v. Hart when interpreting tax law. A statement made in Parliament by a government minister was used to determine the purpose of the Finance Act 1976. The purposive approach was also used in R.V. Secretary of State for Health ex parte Quinterval, 2003. A cloned embryo was classed as an embryo for the purposes of the Human Fertilization and Embryology Act 1990, which referred to an embryo coming into existence after fertilization. In summary, the purposive approach to statutory interpretation seeks to interpret legislation in line with Parliament's intention. It looks to the purpose of the legislation before looking at the words. This video is part of a series of videos on law from www.e-lawresources.co.uk. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel www.youtube.com/e-lawresources. It's free to do so and will help us to keep providing these videos. Check out our website, which provides lecture outlines and case summaries. See also www.e-lawrevision.org.uk for revision games and quizzes. Thanks for watching.